Hello, BookTube. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a really quick double wrap-up. I didn't want to end up putting these two wrap-ups in two separate videos, so I'm just gonna combine them into one. I'm not gonna elaborate too much on each book because I think I want to do separate reviews for them. If there is a book that I mentioned that you would definitely like to see a review for, please go ahead and let me know in the comments below. This month I read Vlog Like a Boss by Amy Schmittauer. I gave this book 4 stars and I really enjoyed it. Amy was able to maintain her voice throughout the book, so that was cool because if you watch some of her videos, you'll see she's a pretty down-to-earth and funny person. There was some really good tips in here, but the book as a whole is a little bit more business-oriented, I feel, than it would be, hobby-ish. However, I think it's great for someone just starting out because in the beginning, you tend to kind of come up with your own fears and your own hurdles for why you aren't ready to start yet. And I think she addresses a lot of them in this book, whether it's fear of technology or just not being organized enough or not knowing what kind of videos to make. She definitely covers that in this book. I'm not much of a rereader, but I did reread All Are Wrong Todays by Ellen Mastai this month. That one I gave 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit of a fictional memoir. It's somewhat sci-fi, and there's time travel and a little bit of romance, and I really, really enjoyed it. I've actually reviewed All Are Wrong Todays on a different channel, but if you guys are interested in seeing a review of that, I will review it again for this channel. Now for my BookTube-A-Thon wrap-up. As I was making a list for all the books I read, I was quickly reminded why I don't like making TBRs. And the thing is that I rarely stick to them. If you recall, I had asked my husband to select my books. So I read A Brief Tour of Consciousness by Istak Bentov. Because this was a short book, I decided I was going to read this in a day. Now I was trying to do BookTube-A-Thon while I worked full-time, so I didn't quite get the amount of reading time that I was hoping for. So I bent the rules a little bit and just finished this in a 24-hour period because I figured that counts as one day, and I definitely stuck to within the 24-hour period. However, this book was really interesting, but there were parts that I just felt like my brain could not grasp, and I don't fault the book for that. I really feel like it was just kind of reaching the outer limits of my understanding. I'll probably be revisiting this book at another point. It's actually part 2 to Stalking the Wild Pendulum, so I have that book as well, and after I read that, I think I'll come back and read this again. But some of the concepts that it goes over in this book is that all of us collectively are God or the universal mind, and that universal consciousness exists out there and all the answers are out there, and we can actually tap into that if we want to. It talks about meditation, and it actually explained it to me in a way that I hadn't thought of before. I didn't really understand why it was so important to quiet your mind during meditation, and it talks about that in this book. The second book I read, which was not on the list that my husband selected for me, was Santa's Son by David S. Scott. Even though this wasn't on my TBR list, it does meet one of the challenges in regards to having a person on the cover. I'm sure you guys can tell with the half-naked man on the cover that it's most likely an erotica, and it is. Erotica is not something I normally read, but if you guys are interested in hearing about Santa's Son, let me know. Another book that I finished that wasn't on my list was Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel, and I actually listened to the audiobook for that. I think maybe that could work for the challenge where you read a hyped book, possibly. And the final book that I read this month is The Mesmerist by Ronald L. Smith. This was a book that my husband selected based on the cover, and while unfortunately I didn't get to complete it during BookTube-A-Thon, I did finish it this month. I didn't participate in any of the BookTube-A-Thon video challenges this year. I really didn't think that I would have the time, and that was pretty accurate. I did catch some of them on Instagram and some of them on Twitter, and whenever I was able, I tried to participate, but it was really hard and I felt like I missed most of it. However, I can still see what all the excitement was about. So I think next year I might prepare differently. Maybe I'll be a little bit more connected to one social network or another and try to participate a little bit better. Maybe I'll even try to request off that week. I don't know. If I do, I'll try to overlap it with some vacation time so that way I can go away, bring some books, and get reading done by the pool. Might be fun. For BookTube-A-Thon itself, I read 3.5 books, which is actually better than I was expecting to do, so I'm kind of happy with the amount of reading that I did. Did you participate in BookTube-A-Thon this year? How did you do? Let me know in the comments below. Well guys, that's it for my wrap up. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.